This is lesson 3-2, adding and subtracting with decimals. Our central question, how can you add and subtract with whole numbers and decimals? And this picture right here, you do not need to copy it, but I do want you to just take a minute to look at it because it does go through the steps on how to, this is an example of subtraction. So it shows you that you need to line up the decimal points, and then you just subtract as you normally would on any kind of whole number problem. And then you just drag the decimal straight down. No vocab for this lesson. Alright, example number 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is line up my decimals. Just like I talked about when I was going over that graphic. So I have 5 and 9/10 plus 2 and 7/10. And luckily they both end in the tenths place, so my numbers line up perfectly. That won't always happen, and I'm going to show you what to do when they don't line up. So now I just bring that decimal straight down. And now I go ahead and just add like normal. 9 plus 7, 5 plus 2 plus 1. And so I get 8 6/10 as my answer. Example number 2. Again, you want to line up your numbers. 4 and 1/100 minus 2 and 95/100. And again, these line up perfectly. They both end in the hundredths place. So now I can go ahead and bring that decimal straight down and go ahead and subtract. And we're going to just follow the regular rules of subtraction. So if we have a 1 in our hundredths place, we can't just take away 5 from it. So our 1 is going to become an 11. We have to borrow from our 0, which would have been a 10, and now we would make it a 9. And then we would have to borrow from our 4, making it a 3. And now we can subtract. 11 minus 5 is 6. 9 minus 9 is 0. And 3 minus 2 is 1, giving us 1 6/100. Example number 3. So this is one that I was talking about. These aren't going to line up, so pay close attention, please. We have 2 and 57/100 and 7, and I'm still going to line those decimals up. 706 So you can see in the number 2 and 57/100, I don't have anything in the thousands place. It's blank right now. So what I do to make my numbers even is I annex a 0, or I put a 0 in there. And now they'll line up evenly. And now I can go ahead and add. First, I want to bring that decimal straight down, and then go ahead and add 0 plus 6, 7 plus 0, 5 plus 7, 7 plus 2 plus 1. And I get 10 and 276 thousandths. Okay, example number 4 is another one where they're not going to line up exactly, so we're going to follow the same rule. We have 1 and 5/10, still line up those decimals. See how I put them right one on top of the other. My tenths place have to line up, so I have a 5 in the tenths place in this number. I have a 0 in the tens place in this number, and they line up right here. All your digits have to line up with the correct place. So let me finish off my second number, 1 and 56 thousandths. So for my first number, 1 and 5/10, I just annex 2 zeros on there. So now I can go ahead and subtract. Okay, now we're going to have to do quite a bit of borrowing since we have some zeros. So this first 0 becomes a 10. So then we have to borrow up this 0, making it a 9. Then we're going to have to borrow up this 5, making it a 4. Now we can go ahead and subtract 10 minus 6, 9 minus 5, 4 minus 0. And of course 1 minus 1 is 0. So we have 444 thousandths. Okay, here are your practice problems. Remember to line up your decimals. If you need to, add on your zeros at the end. For number 1, I'm just going to show you how to line it up because you have your whole number 10 plus 3 and 284 thousandths. 10 doesn't have a decimal, so you're going to have to add that decimal and add 3 zeros. Now you can add. So I just helped you out with number 1, and you should be able to finish that off and do numbers 2 and 3. Do not forget your word problem or question, and rate your understanding.